Hello, my name is Mordred Viking, and I'd like to welcome you to this stream of Hearts of Iron 4, where I am sure that we will be talking about the newly announced expansion, which is, of course, Man the Guns. I was at PDXCON over the weekend. I was given press access, so I have had access to some things, probably which they have not officially announced yet. And I was told, under pain of never working again, to keep that stuff quiet. The NDA, which I signed as a part of that, has now lifted. That lifted today. I'm just going to double check to make sure that's true. Wednesday, May 23rd. Check. Hearts of Iron 4, 3 PM CST. Yes, that has definitely passed. Okay, so I am now able to actually talk about what I saw. Some of the features which are coming, some of the mechanics that they were talking about and how they wanted to implement them, and just my general impressions on precisely what I think is going to be happening. Hey, Mordred, missed a couple of streams. What nation am I playing? Know. I was not actually going to do any more single-player Hearts of Iron, because I'm still fed up with the AI. However, I know that there are a lot of you who are interested in the game and who want to know what is coming in the future. And a lot of you will probably think that I'm quite excited, and I am, cautiously so, about this expansion because it focuses on the Navy. And you will know that I really enjoy naval engagements and like naval aspects for games like this. Like European Universalis 4 is probably my favourite one for naval implementation. Hearts of Iron's been lacking rather substantially in that area, but I still really like playing as the Union of Britain, or the UK, Japan to a lesser extent, and Sardinia, which is actually now one of my favourite nations. So there is a lot of stuff coming with the Navy. We should probably jump into a game. So is there anyone, any faction, nation, whatever, that any of you particularly want to see me playing? I don't know for sure if this is going to go up into YouTube. Probably not. I am recording it just in case it turns out to actually be a good series. But it wouldn't be for another month or so anyway. So by that point, most of the news will be old. So yeah, I'm just going to load up the main screen here and see what to play as. Caribbean Federation. I don't actually want to play as a entirely naval power because I'm excited about the new naval mechanics and I don't really want to have that memory anymore. But some of them I could do. Like we could do, I guess, Union of Britain or possibly even Canada and try and form Britain again. I was also thinking of playing as the French Republic and just bombing all the things. Mongolia. We could do Mongolia, that's true. No, I don't want to do America. I've done them recently. And hello, everyone. Yes, a lot of you are saying hello. Hello. I'm any interested in the game for Kaiserreich. Yeah. Unfortunately, because I knew what was happening for Man the Guns, and I'm not sure if the Kaiserreich team knew what was happening because I'm under NDA. I don't know if they were, if they'd been privy to additional information. I have no idea what Kaiserreich is going to do with this. I know that they had kind of insinuated that they were focusing quite heavily on naval improvements for future editions, but what exactly that's going to mean, I don't know. German Ostasian, no focus tree. Right? They don't have a focus tree. No, they don't have a focus tree. None of China does. Could do Australia. I was thinking about Australia. Indochina, Middle Africa. Does Indochina have one? Australian Navy. Now that I know how bad the navies in this game are at the moment, it's making me less interested in doing it. Alright, we'll do Australia. I have not played as them before. Alright, it's official. We are going to play as Australasia. Right, so yes, they did say that the Man the Guns, as the name would imply, is focusing very heavily on naval power. Yeah, I know what Indochina is. I'm not going to play as Indochina because none of the rest of China has focuses. It's the same reason that I didn't want to play as Italy in previous updates because, Socialist Italy didn't have a focus tree at that time. This is... Oh, of course this crashes. Of course it crashes, because why wouldn't it? Let's try that again. So yeah, it adds naval things. There are probably 3 aspects to the Navy which are being improved really quite dramatically, and I will be willing to answer any questions or anything like that you have on these. I'll just give you a very brief overview. So the first one and the biggest one is spotting. They're changing how spotting works, so it's more of a cat and dog trying to like maneuver and find positioning in naval warfare. So rather than two doom stacks smashing each other up, one of them dies, then the other one is just left to dominate the sea. No, there'll be like a couple of small engagements here and there. There'll be some skirmishing, at least until later in the war when radar and just general ship detection is better. So at the very beginning, it's very much going to be skirmishing. And they said that they want to balance naval conflict to be more of like a tug of war rather than a one beats the other completely out of the fight. So there will be engagements, a couple of ships will be off to repair, they'll come back, a couple more engagements, and then it's very much going to be like the movement of naval power across the sea. So the best example of this would be the Pacific Theater, with the US Navy going after Japan. Slowly, surely, over time, the US Navy was just encroaching further and further and further towards the Japanese home islands, while the Japanese were kind of fighting a rearguard action trying to stop the US doing that. That's very much the impression of naval warfare they want to do, rather than this one big fight, everything sinks. Okay, these guys have won because these guys can never recover from this defeat. And they're making ships other than anything other than a kick and dust boot. Well, as part of that spotting thing, submarines will be harder to spot, and they will be a lot better at disengaging from combat. So they'll be spotting, they'll find convoys, they'll attack a couple of convoys, then get the hell out of there before the enemy fleet arrives. Now, this is what they had intended initially, so I don't know exactly what's going to change with this. This is the mechanic that I'm kind of the most ambivalent about, because I don't know if they can pull it off as much as they want to. That was actually the other thing that I should report back on here. This is extremely early on in development. Extremely early on in development. Like to the level where they are still very much in the design phase. Nothing has been coded yet. No artwork has been completed. We did not see any gameplay footage. We did not even see any screenshots. There was nothing that they showed. This is purely speculation, early design work. Nothing at all is set in stone. So just be aware of that fact. So any of this stuff could change. This is just kind of what they want to do as opposed to what they are doing, which is why I'm a little bit confused about the fact that they've already announced the pre-release for this. Like, you can already pre-order it. That seems really bizarre to me because, quite frankly, they just have not begun production on this properly. So I don't know why it can be pre-ordered. That just seems really strange. Right, what navies do I start with? I do not start with a lot. I have a lot of submarines. Oh, goody. What's this? 1 carrier, 2 battleships, 2 battle cruisers, 2 heavy cruisers, 5 light cruisers, and 22 destroyers. Okie dokie. State of Australia. We have a little bit of industry. Manpower is obviously going to be a problem. So I think we'll stick industry in those 2 spots and then build those up, because it's not really worth doing anywhere else. Naval production, we have 5. We actually have more shipyards than military factories. That's an interesting change. No decent technology, though. So I think we'll build convoys until we're actually ready to do something useful. Right, let me just double check what chat is saying here. Are they reducing the manpower cost of boats? I have no idea. Too early to say. Radar research will actually be useful. Yes, I think that will have a big impact on spotting. And they were also talking about expanding out the variant system a little bit. Okay, so one of the really nice things about PDXCON is after the official press discussion thing that we had with Don Podcat about Hearts of Iron, we then had a networking party type thing afterwards with champagne and everything. They properly wined and dined us. It was very swish. And I got to talk to Podcat for another hour or so. Really talking more in depth about design, systems, mechanics, the types of things that it kind of just what's the word? Highballing concepts about what he wanted to see in the game and what I wanted to see in the game. I have a feeling he knew who I was. I'm not entirely sure, but he was just talking to me in a very knowing fashion. So I'm kind of curious if he did, because he never mentioned it. And we were talking a lot about navies, and then we were also talking a lot about technologies, research, variants. We were talking quite a bit about in introducing new variants for weapons and things. None of this is confirmed for the that the expansion, this is just us talking. This is just one of the nice things about PDXCON, is you have this opportunity to talk to the developers and spitball ideas. That's the word, spitball. Do I know anything about the US focus tree and the US Civil War? No. I don't know anything about those. I know a bit about the Kaiserreich plans for the American Civil War, but I don't know anything about the official plans. Like I said, super duper early. I don't think focus has even been considered yet. Retrofitting, yes, they were talking about retrofitting fleets. Like, he wants it to be able to put on new guns, new ship detection systems, new torpedoes, things like that onto existing ships. So you don't need to build entirely new ones. Which is a feature that they did have in Hearts of Iron 3, but did not make it to Hearts of Iron 4. That has been as far as confirmed as anything can be confirmed. That is something they are looking at doing. So retrofitting is, as far as I'm aware, being worked on. Yeah, I'll go into the Kaiserreich stuff after. I just want to get like most of this out of the way. Then if any other people come in later into chat, please like answer as much of the stuff about it you guys as possible, and then I'll keep an eye on chat, of course, and I'll chime in where necessary. I just don't want to be repeating myself really frequently. I want to get like the meat of the stuff out of the way, then I can actually start playing the game and we can make this a little more casual. I just want to have like everything out of the way while I'm thinking about it. So the first one was the spotting system, which, yeah, it looks cool. The second one, and this is actually the change I'm looking forward to the most, and is quite frankly really necessary. You can now forbid ships from entering sea areas. I don't know if it's an entire zone or if it's done on a province matter. I kind of hope it's on a province thing, maybe with like holding down shift or something to tag the entire zone. But you can now say ships do not go there. Whether that's all ships or convoys, or whether you can select between naval vessels and convoys or not, I don't know. I'm kind of hoping you can differentiate, but that was not talked about. But this is a way of stopping the German army going, okay, this is a bit too hard and we need to go and land in Belgium. Alright, brilliant. We'll jump on a ship in Hamburg, sail over here, rather than taking the frickin' train. So one of the biggest issues where armies would go, you know what, it'll be really much quicker to sail to St. Petersburg rather than going all the way overland. We'll just jump into the sea, sail through the English Channel. I'm sure nothing bad will possibly happen to us there. And then once we're through the English Channel, we'll be nice and safe here in the North Sea as well. No, you can block them. You can say, do not enter these spaces. Not allowed. Verboten. Don't do this. Which is really cool. That is also, I believe, going to be for trade convoys. So no longer does Britain have to get all of their supplies through London. They can now actually get supplied through Scotland, which will make it much harder for the Germans and then later on capitulated French based fleets to attack you and take your stuff. It'll also make naval bombers less useful, which is actually a good thing because they're kind of powerful at the moment. And it's also going to mean that countries like Russia will no longer be supplied entirely and stupidly through the German-infested Baltic, but instead can have supplies shipped in via the White Sea for the Arctic route, which was like super-duper important during the Second World War, and also through Vladivostok. So that is a really important change. I hope that those changes also impact naval invasions. So if you're doing a naval invasion, it doesn't go through these illegal areas, but basically if you flag something as illegal, your ships will never pass through it. It would just basically say this is impossible. So I'm really happy with that change. It's going to be good and very badly needed. What about the resource changes we keep hearing about? That would be fuel. I'll talk about that in a minute. Remind me when I'm done with my third most important aspect of naval warfare change, and that is they are changing how fleets work. So fleets are now going to be divided up in much the same way as army groups are for armies. So say we have all of our army, which may as well just go ahead and select right now, and we'll throw you into an army. This army is then commanded by a general. I'm just going to choose Moorshead just because. And then the army is then commanded by an army group commander, a field marshal, who is then in charge of all of that. They're taking the same system and applying it to navies. So you'll have the fleet, and then the fleet will be subdivided into task forces. These task forces will, I think, be of specific ship types. So you could have a search and destroy task force, which would require 4 capital ships, 6 screens, and 3 submarines, for example. Exactly how hard-coded that is going to be, I don't know. I suspect it will be just like you need 5 capital ships and 6 screens. Those are the kind of limits. And you probably can modify within that for bonuses and penalties, of course. And then the different naval missions, which, for example, we have up here. So we have patrol, we have search and destroy, convoy raiding, and then convoy escort. And you would have different compositions of task forces, depending on what kind of task force it was. So if you had a convoy escort task force, it would probably be very screen-heavy with very few, if any, capital ships. So that is something which I'm really excited about. It also means that the admirals are being treated in much the same way as generals, in that they have additional skills, they have traits, they can level up over time, and there's just going to be an awful lot more to admirals. See empty road. So yes, I'm really excited about that. I think that's going to be a really cool change. I think that's actually one of the changes which interests me the most. Basically giving navies far more personality, and allows you to really modify fleets to do what you want them to do. It should also be a pretty effective counter to doom stacks. So you're not just going to be putting your entire fleet into one stack and then just saying, go hit that guy. No, you're going to be forced to divide them out, because different admirals, I think, will have different skill levels of how many ships they can actually effectively command. So, yes! Good change. I really liked that change, and I was very happy when they announced it. Sorry, I just realised I've been getting bits. I missed those. My bad. Woohoo for German Ostasian. I will be playing as Ostasian at some point in the future. I'm not going to play as them right now, Bolin Stalin, because I want China to have their Chinese rework and actually have focuses. Otherwise, it's kind of a pointless game. And then Requin, am I going to have subscriberships in this game? Because you asked me so nicely, I will do so. So as of right now, put your name in chat, and the first 12 of you who do so will have a submarine named after... Well, first 11 of you to do so will have your submarine named after you. So, let me remember how you do this. Click on you, click out, here we go. So this is going to be the Requin. And then the other 11 from this. Hey, Mystery Potato. They said that about the Stellaris Doomstack mechanic. It's alive and well. Yeah, but the Stellaris fleets are too big. That's my problem with them. And there should be positioning penalties, so if you do start moving more Doomstacks in, or more fleets active in the same area, they should suffer positioning penalties as they get into each other's way. And I think that's what they should do on Stellaris as well. So yeah, you could bring these 2 fleets in to give you numerical superiority, but you will suffer penalties for doing so. Alright, let's see these names. So we have got Monster. We have got J. Marshall Slav. We've got Jukebox Hero. We have got Garrett's. We have got Perseus. We have got Evil Snowball. Ball, not ball. Let's try that. We have got Powlett. Powlett. We've got Mitchell. I'm tempted to do your name in all lowercase. I won't. I'm not that cruel. We've got Mystery Potato. And scrolling down, we've got Blue Alien. I don't know if yours was actually saying that you want your name there, Lonito, or not. Who else? Cromwell. There we go. You got the last one. And Lonito, if you wanted something named after you, make that clearer. Okay. Those subs are totally going to get sunk in about 5 minutes. Absolutely 100%. Okay, cool. What else was I going to say? Man the guns. Fuel. So they did announce that fuel is back in the game. Oil is still a thing. Most units that require oil to build will now not, although some of them still will. Master map blatantly skipped you, did I? Oh, you were just above Blue Alien. Well, I have an easy way of getting over that. Master mat. There you go. How's that? So yeah, fuel. Nothing was really mentioned about how it will work. It's just that it's going to be a resource in the game. It can't be traded between nations. That was one thing which was a little bit surprising. You can't trade it between nations. It will not be on the world market. It will, however, be a lend-lease. So what I think they're doing is they're just taking the equipment system that they have right now and just adding fuel as a piece of equipment, which will then be used up as your units function. You can still move, albeit at huge penalties, if you have no fuel left, or if you're not able to get fuel to your lines, if they're cut off or whatever, encircled. But they will be, I think, just using the equipment system for that. Whether it will receive any modifications in so doing, I don't know. They will also be rebalancing the map in terms of oil supplies, so you will be using the resource oil to create fuel, which will then go out to your units. How that is done exactly, if it's just like a set thing over time, whether oil itself will actually be just simply replaced with fuel, so you harvest it from the provinces which generate oil, and also synthetic fuel will be a thing, so you can still convert, you can still generate fuel with synthetics. Yeah, Mitchell, you're in the boat club. Mystery Potato, can't wait to be sunk at the start of combat. It's definitely going to be happening. It's definitely going to be happening. Is this just for Kaiserreich? Oh no, this is all main game. Everything I've been talking about so far is for Man the Guns. Alright, so the thing which I heard about for Kaiserreich was the big headline is the next thing that they will be focusing on in Kaiserreich is going to be the United States of America, not China. Annoyingly. Apparently, like, they're having issues, which means they can't do China right now. But they're working on the United States, and a lot of the artwork and stuff that there was around the United States was on show, and it looks fantastic. They are trying to make the United States Civil War more dynamic, so it's not always going to be CSA has this land, AUS has this land, United States has this land, and then the Pacific States kind of does its own thing. And actually, they have a new use for the Pacific States, which is going to be... It might actually make the Pacific States my new favourite US faction, which is kind of cool. So there is a new political system in place. They did not talk about that. I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but the intention is to make the Civil War more dynamic based on your actions in the game and, of course, the actions of the other AIs and just generally the status of the United States in the game itself. So probably in a similar thing, like if Reed takes power as the president in the elections, then the AUS will get bonuses because the AUS people are just more pissed off. I would assume it's something like that. I don't know exactly how it would work. The big change there is... Crikey, what was his name? There are different presidents now. I don't think that Curtis is the one that can skip the Civil War anymore. There is one presidential candidate who is a... Why do words always fail me like this? This is really He's the compromise candidate between Reed and Long, and they basically say, okay, we'll chill if this guy's in charge, or something like that, I don't know. But basically, yeah, there is a compromise candidate who can avoid the Civil War, but everyone else, it will still fire, and I think it's going to be much harder to elect that compromise candidate. So, Civil Wars, the US Civil War is fun, so I'm hoping it still remains that way. The other thing which has changed is the situation of the PSA. If the United States emerges in the Civil War, and if MacArthur takes control of the military junta, then the Pacific States of America will basically become the United States of America. So you will then have the CSA, the AUS, the USA, and then the PSA, and it's the PSA fighting for the restoration of democracy, not the USA anymore. The USA is simply a military entity trying to save itself, which I think is a really good change. Like, the PSA always kind of felt like a bit of an afterthought in the American Civil War, and now they actually have something which they're definitely fighting for, and which will make them like though. It will mean that the alliance and friendship between the Dominion of Canada and the Pacific States just makes more sense. Like, the Pacific States now are definitely aligned in a very similar way to Canada, and I really like that change. Like, the PSA being like the defenders of democracy now is really cool. And it also means that the American Caesar has definite downsides for choosing that, because the PSA will then definitely emerge and definitely declare war on you. From what I heard last on Reddit, they were having translation province issues in China. Maybe. I mean, there are a couple of reasons which came out. That was one thing I was a little bit disappointed about, Kaiserreich, actually, is the session that Kaiserreich did. It sounded like a lot more of a complaint about the situation in the internal team, like internal divisions and things. It did not talk very much about what they planned to do with Kaiserreich and where they wanted it to go. It was a disappointing talk, that one, actually. I kind of wish I was not there. They were just airing their dirty laundry, and that's not something you should be doing in public. Like, I'm sure that things will still be progressing quite nicely in Kaiserreich, but there are obviously divisions within the team, and that's all I'm going to say on that, because I'm not going to stir that. But I do like the ideas that they have with America, so that's all cool. Have I seen the New Mexico tree coming? I have not seen anything like that, no. And I haven't seen any new focuses or anything like that for the US. It seems to be relatively early on in development. I mean, they did only just do the Waking the Tiger port. Oh, yeah, that was the other thing. They also are planning to use decisions far more than they are. Ooh, hello. Kind of like this, I guess. Speaking of improving decisions, apparently Australasia has already got them. So it's not just police crackdown anymore, there are actually other abilities, and they're planning to do this for many, many other countries, which is going to be really cool. So yes, they are going to be using the decision system more, which is something I was very much looking forward to. Okay, I'm actually going to start playing the game, because I've been talking for half an hour about just what was coming. If you have any further questions, if you want to have any further clarification of the things that they have announced for Man the Guns, ask, and I'll do what I can to respond. I don't have all the answers, like I said. Super duper early in development. I am not a developer, this is just what I'm hearing through the press system. Yeah, that's where I'll leave that.